This episode of Test Drive is made possible by RateMyEV.com. So you're in the market for a new mid-size electric SUV and you're considering all the different options out there. But what makes Cadillac different than the rest? Well, there's been a lot of discussion about it over the years, and we've featured a number of different vehicles from them, including the LYRIQ several times. I keep booking this vehicle because of how much I like it. Not only do I think that the LYRIQ is one of the best, if not the best, midsize electric luxury SUV on the market, I think it's one of the best midsize luxury SUVs, period, regardless of what's powering it. Today we're going to be going over why I think so, some of the reasons why you might want to be considering the LYRIQ and Cadillac in general, and everything else that you need to know if you're going into the 2025 or 2026 model year, because there are some changes coming, so should you wait for it. Now, this vehicle as configured is about $87,000 Canadian, or about $74,000 in the US. The base MSRP has actually been reduced by about $2,200 for both markets since I featured this last year when we did a road trip to Michigan. And the overall as tested price compared to the red one that I did in 24, $10,000 Canadian less, or about $8,000 less than the US. Now, to be fair, we do have the Argent Silver Metallic paint. That is the base color. There's no cost for it. But overall, there hasn't been any other changes. We've got the sunroof, we've got the actual black roof line, so that gives it a bit of a two-tone look, and it is less. So if you're going into 25, you're going to be saving quite a bit over the previous year. So what's powering our Cadillac LYRIQ Sport 3 all-wheel drive? Well, it's a dual-motor electric setup, good for 515 horsepower, 450 pound-feet of torque. That's also 610 newton-meters, which is why there's a 600 badge on the back of this. Cadillac is going with those numbers as a designation differentiator between the different vehicles. We have a tow rating up to 3,500 pounds, and range is estimated to be about 513 kilometers or 319 miles. What's interesting is if you go with the 19.2 kilowatt onboard charger, you lose range on that. So you're getting less range based on the charger. Haven't seen that before in other vehicles. Now, how we achieve that is with a 102 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery. The chemistry behind that is nickel, cobalt, manganese, and aluminium. It is kind of similar to the Dodge Charger that we drove, although this is using manganese, which was not on the Charger. But now I want to talk a little bit about the competition before we talk about what's coming for 2026. All right, so why are you going to choose Cadillac over a brand like BMW or Mercedes-Benz? Well, first off, the 2026 BMW iX xDrive 45 starts at $93,000. And if you were to want to get one that's got kind of all the features that you want, and a lot of the stuff that you would get here, you'd be looking at about $109,000 Canadian as tested. So it's quite a bit. That's quite a bit more than this. Now, to be fair, it has 544 horsepower, which is a little bit more than this, as well as 586 kilometers of range. So you're getting more range out of it. I think that's kind of a fair trade-off. You're getting more power, more range, and, slightly different design, more like an X5 size vehicle compared to this, which is a long, short vehicle, which I really like. How does it compare to the 2025 Mercedes-Benz EQE 350 4MATIC? Well, that starts at $94,000 Canadian, has way less horsepower, 288, but it does have much more torque, which is kind of interesting. And the range on that also not very good, 407 kilometers. So as far as I'm concerned, the Mercedes, not even comparable. You might be looking at this or the BMW iX. Now, one of the major things that you get when you buy a Cadillac is 4 years of scheduled maintenance. Now, that might not sound like a lot considering this is an electric vehicle. You don't need to worry about oil changes or anything like that. However, you still want to do tire rotations. You will still want to have the vehicle checked over, make sure everything's in good working order. So during the time you're leasing or buying it, it's good to have really no additional costs when it comes to it. And one of the things that GM never includes with their 4-year scheduled maintenance are brakes. You're not going to be needing that because of regen braking. You should not be using the conventional brakes on this vehicle too often, meaning you're really not going to need it. So you purchase the vehicle for about 88 grand, and there's effectively no additional costs other than charging and insurance. Now, if having scheduled maintenance wasn't enough, which is included on all new Cadillacs anyway, for 2025, Cadillac has listened. The number one complaint that I imagine everybody else has had when reviewing these vehicles is your infotainment doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Don't get excited, you still don't have it, But the complaint I had was you needed to have an OnStar subscription and data plan in order to use the maps. So new for this year, you get 8 years of automatic crash response, voice and maps, remote access, all via the standard OnStar subscription. So there's no cost to that. So if you're keeping it for 8 years, you should be able to use the maps for that long. And having remote access is great. You can open up the app, remote start the vehicle. Now, you're also getting 3 years of OnStar Premium when you purchase or lease this vehicle. That includes 24-hour emergency response, unlimited Wi-Fi hotspot, great for the kiddos if they're playing on their iPads in the back, as well as Super Cruise. We've talked about Super Cruise before. It is one of, if not the best hands-free autonomous driving system that we have tested. It really does work extremely well. So if you're going to lease this, I'd say for 3 years, you really don't have any costs on top of just the original purchase or lease price, and you're good to go. Now, there's a couple other changes that were new for 2025 over the one that I drove before. Passenger seat memory is now standard, which is nice, and Cadillac has bumped up the ambient lighting from the original 26 to 126 different color choices, so you can personalize the interior a little bit more than you could before. Now, I know what you're thinking. All right, Nile, you've convinced me. The 25 is definitely the way to go over the 24. Yeah, but now we're going to throw a curveball because they've already announced what's coming for 2026, and I would say that there are some important changes coming depending on what you find is important. Number one, they're updating the current 19-speaker AKG studio system with a new 23-speaker that also includes Dolby Atmos. Now, that's something that's currently available on the smaller Cadillac Optic, so if you wanted to have Atmos sound quality, you will want to go for the 26. A couple other changes. Standard Super Cruise will now be available, so it doesn't matter which trim you go with, which model, all LYRIQs will have Super Cruise. And now, again, one of those things that we've been asking for a little while now is the available dual-plane augmented reality head-up display. This is one of those vehicles that doesn't offer any sort of head-up display at this point, and it is a lacking feature. That will be available on 2026. And then they're also adding the new Onyx and Radiant packages. So if you want to customize the exterior look a little bit with rims and badging and whatnot, you do have those options. Should you wait? If it were me, if I were leasing this, I would. Personally, I would like to try Dolby Atmos as well as having a head-up display, so I would wait. But if those things are not important to you, this is still a very good update, definitely better than the 2024s. Oh, you must have thought that I had some problem here with my Cadillac LYRIQ, but I don't. See, that's called acting, and I'm very good at it. But I don't have problems with my Cadillac LYRIQ because I went to ratemyev.com before making this purchase. So I knew ahead of time if people were having issues with their vehicle and knew to avoid it, or in this case, knew it was a good buy. That's right, our sponsor, ratemyev.com, is the best place to go to find owner-based reviews of all sorts of different electric vehicles on the market today. Whether they're new or old, you'll find owners who've had the chance to go over their vehicles and tell you all the good, bad, and ugly, and everything in between. You can even find obscure vehicles like the Ford Focus Electric and see what people really think about it. Gee, if that had only been around when I bought that car. But regardless, ratemyev.com is the best place to find owner-based reviews on all sorts of electric vehicles. And big thanks to them for sponsoring this video here on Test Drive. So now I'm going to tell you why I really like this vehicle, but first let's talk a little bit about energy efficiency. As we always do, we completed our 100-kilometer test loop in this vehicle. Not great, unfortunately. 4.3 kilometers per kilowatt hour works out to be 23.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. When we completed our test loop last year, I did 5 kilometers per kilowatt hour, 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Now, it's also been pretty hot, right? The last few weeks here has just been pretty brutal. So that, and also the vehicle was technically in sport mode. I had forgotten to check. It shouldn't really matter, realistically, because sport mode doesn't really do anything unless you floor it. So anyway, it wasn't as efficient, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that the weather was the main differentiator between this and last year. Still, if you average the two, I mean, it's not bad overall. It's still pretty much in line, although BMW does get some pretty magical energy efficiency numbers. So I have to imagine that something like the iX, which I will have in September, will be a little bit more energy efficient. But here's why I love driving the LYRIQ. First of all, the looks, as far as I'm concerned, are great. I like it. Yes, kind of looks a little bit like a hearse, but Cadillac was known for those, right? They made a lot of money selling hearses to people and to businesses. So overall, I'm digging the look. Would I get it in this color? No. I really like the red that they had. They've got almost like a turquoise, which I think is a good color too. So you got some choice. I would probably go with this Sport 3 if I were in the market for one, because I want all the features, I want all the tech. And yes, as I mentioned, I would wait until 26. But I mean, the layout, everything works really well. Now I don't have to complain too much about the map stuff, because I actually personally don't like using Apple CarPlay just for my own purposes, because I'm filming cars. I don't want the car connected. I don't want to lose audio because it went into Apple CarPlay mode. From sitting waiting for my daughter at school, I'm sitting on my phone playing games. I don't want the audio always going through the car, because I don't want that. I want to listen to music while I'm playing on my phone. So this is good. I'm glad that GM has listened. They're now including that 8 years plan, which is great. And then the rest of the reason why I like the LYRIQ are comfort and overall just ease of driving. I mean, the seats here really do remind me of, I think it was an 89 Cadillac sedan DeVille that we did maybe 7, 8 years ago, something like that, 6 years ago. Anyway, whenever I did that car, the 80s Cadillacs were just incredibly comfortable because the cushioning was like 2 feet thick. And I feel it's the same thing with this. The cushioning on these vehicles is just sublime. I mean, you just basically melt into it. Super comfortable. The massage is kind of mediocre, so it would have been nice if there were a little bit more options. Something like the Lincoln Corsair that I just did has a plethora of different options. This, not really any. It's just either on or off in the intensity. So I would have liked to have seen that. But comfort is great. Quietness. I mean, I'm not using any software to remove any of the noise here. This is coming off the microphone, and yeah, it picks up a little bit more than usual, but I mean, it's very quiet in here. And then the comfort, that's really key. I mean, this car drives so smoothly on the road, even in imperfect situations, potholes, bumps, train tracks, things like that. It really glides over it. It helps that it is heavy, but it also helps that the wheelbase is really long, because this is a long vehicle. This almost could be a 3-row if Cadillac had wanted it to be one, but because it is a very large 2-row midsize, the wheelbase on it makes for that excellent ride. Now, GM also isn't using any crazy magnetic ride control or anything on this. That's how good it is just as is. So imagine if they did. It'd be incredible. So quietness, comfort, ease of driving, the effortless performance is there. Do you need 515 horsepower? No, not necessarily, but it's there. It doesn't feel overly fast. And that's one of the things I think that sets this apart from, say, a BMW iX, even the xDrive 45 that I mentioned. You're not getting like blistering performance, but you do not need it. This has more than enough power to get you up to speed. You've got a tow rating if you wanted to put a little trailer or something on the back of this. But then the overall space is just more than I need. Trunk space, enormous. And way bigger than something like the Lincoln Corsair that I just did, but more functional too, because it's a lift back. You have tons of space back there. Passengers in the second row, ample amount of space back there. I would be very comfortable even if I had to sit behind myself. There's just like miles of space. So, interior, very good. They've also improved the quality. One of the things that I noticed when the one that we did before and all the other ones previous was the tray here. I'm putting my wallet in there right now, but the center tray actually works. It used to kind of pop out a little bit. So they fixed that quality issue there. But, I mean, there's no rattling. There's no sounds. There's nothing. I mean, this car has 17,000 kilometers on it now. So it's kind of like if you've been driving it for almost a year. And, I mean, it still works great. There's no, things that would annoy you by the time you're the first year into the ownership. It's really good. So when we talk about these vehicles, I'm always saying, hey, try to review them from as unbiased opinion as possible. I try to come into every car with a blank slate, but I usually say in those videos, I'm like, I personally wouldn't buy this because of XYZ. But when it comes to the LYRIQ, this is the 3rd model year I've done, 3 years that I've been featuring this car. Every single time I drive it, I always say the same thing. If I were in the market for a vehicle like this, if I had the money to afford the lease on this for 3 years, I would absolutely lease this vehicle, because for me, it's perfect. I don't need anything flashy and sporty. Okay, so you could argue I would go with the Blazer then, but I like the look of the LYRIQ. I like that when I go to Cadillac, you get preferential treatment. You're going to be priority over the other GM brands when you come in for service, and you don't have to go in for much service. As I mentioned, there isn't a whole lot you're going to need to do with this, but the fact that all of the included maintenance is going to be covered by Cadillac, it really is a set it and forget it kind of thing. So not only do I not have to worry about wear and tear and maintenance stuff, it's all covered. And then when I go in, I know it's going to be taken care of first, and I can take it to any of the dealerships, right? That's one of the nice things. Here in southwestern Ontario, there's a BMW here in London, same with Mercedes, but that's basically it. Sarnia's got a BMW, and I believe Windsor, but I don't think there's a Mercedes-Benz in Windsor. And if there is, I apologize, but I don't think so. So if you were to go with either of those brands, you're kind of, you've got to drive further to get to your service areas. So for me, this vehicle is one of those few that I would, without hesitation, lease if I could, because it just does everything I want it to do. It looks great, it's comfortable, it's got performance. There's not much more that I can ask it to do. And it's also road tripped. If you're curious to see more about how this vehicle performs on a sort of, I wouldn't say extreme basis, but last year around this time, we took this to Michigan. We went on I think it was like a 2,500 kilometer road trip or something, or 2,000 kilometers, whatever it was. We went all over Michigan with the LYRIQ and had zero problems. Could the trip have been planned a little bit better, like we did with the BMW i7 later on that year? Absolutely. But I never worried about charging, and I don't worry about charging when I'm driving in here. That's why I say that not only I think that this is pretty much the best electric SUV you can buy right now in the luxury space, I think Cadillac has nailed it just in general when it comes to a mid-size luxury vehicle. With 500 kilometers of range, that's more than what you would do in any given day, right? If you're going back and forth to work or even whatever, leisure stuff, it will be more than enough. And then you just fast charge it if you need to. And all the scheduling is there. You go into the infotainment, you can tell it that you need to prep for fast charging, you'll get the most out of it. So for me, not only would I buy this to do stuff in town, I'd have no problem road tripping it either. It just works. It's great. So I'm excited to try the BMW iX, because I really do think that will be a very strong contender for what I would consider to be something I would purchase. But this now being less money than it was a year ago by a lot. I mean, 10 grand less as configured. Okay, throw on the red paint. I think that was the most expensive at $1,500. So still, if this is $8,500 less as the way it was configured, what a deal. Can't wait for 26. Maybe they've kept the price the same but added in those features. Would be even better. We'll see once those actually hit the market. I don't believe pricing has been announced yet. I did not see it on GM's media website. So yeah, 26 gets even better. But as always, if you have any questions, whether it's about this Cadillac LYRIQ or anything that we're doing here on Test Drive, we really encourage you to get into the comments. We do get back to everybody. As of last weekend, we were all caught up, replied to absolutely every single comment. Every human being that has ever left a comment has gotten a reply from me personally. So if you want to talk to me, that's the way to do it. There's also a new community sort of chat page on YouTube, so you can just post, reply to comments and stuff that's going on outside of the video discussion. So if there's things you want to just chat with us about, you're more than welcome to as well. And if you haven't subscribed, I know that 98% of you haven't, please hit that subscribe button. Help us get to our next milestone. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers, and we would really appreciate your help in making that happen. But I appreciate you watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time.